Yes, y'all read that right. I'm going to be taking my American registered Lamborghini and driving it across Russia. And in today's video, I'm going to cover some major issues with the car, some visa problems, scheduling issues, where I'm going, how I'm going, and why I'm going. So stay tuned. If you're new to the channel, 1.5 years ago, I shipped this here car on an airplane from the US to Europe, where I've been touring around for the last 18 months, literally living in the back of the car. Here's my bed, here's my fridge, got all my food in there. I'm currently in Poland. That's why I have the Polish flag, because each country I'm going to, I'm flying the flag of the country that I'm in. So please make sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button down below if you like the kind of content that I'm putting out and are following the journey. Okay, I had to get in the car because it is way too cold out there. Oh gosh, this air is blowing in here. Turn that down. It is literally -10 degrees outside. It's starting to warm up a little bit with the sun. And actually, now we're going to talk about where I'm going. And surprisingly, it's warmer in Russia right now, in those parts that I'm going, at least, than it is here in Poland, in Moscow and in Kazan, Russia. It today is about 5 to 6 degrees Celsius warmer than where I am. So that's why I'm going to Russia. Okay, end of the video. That's all. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I don't know why I end up finding myself, I could be anywhere in the world with this car and I end up in the coldest places during the coldest times of the year. I don't know why. It's very strange, but it is what it is. And I think it adds like an extra element of struggle to be living. It doesn't matter. Okay, Lamborghini, la, 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 you know, whatever. But living in a car when it's absolutely freezing outside, where you can't, you know, you have to be careful where you store water because it's going to freeze overnight. That's a struggle. Waking up in the night to go to the bathroom, that's a struggle. Like, doesn't matter how nice the car is, that doesn't change. Unless you're in a Sprinter van where you're totally enclosed in the interior, then okay, it's pretty plush and it's like basically a hotel on wheels. And we'll talk about the differences of my car versus Sprinter van in a totally separate video and why I chose this car. That's not the discussion for today's video, so we'll cap that for another day. Today's video is about where I am going. I'm going to be driving across Belarus and Russia and hopefully meeting up with Sinclair from Sinclair Search down in Kazakhstan and then driving across Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Afghanistan. And then from there, we don't know. We've got to figure it out. Do we go through Tajikistan and Pakistan down through India, or do we go up into China and then across to Asia? I don't know. So that part we still got to figure out. But as I said before, there are some issues with the car, and we'll cover that. But first, I want to talk about why I want to go to Russia. I think there is a lot of stuff in the news, propaganda, etc., about all these negative things with Russia. However, I have actually been to Russia in 2017. I spent 2 weeks there on vacation. I toured St. Petersburg and Moscow, and I found the people and the places to be so beautiful and so friendly. There was a bit of some bad traffic in Moscow. There were some weird stairs in some of these buildings in Moscow where they were like different elevation. Other than that, like, they kept the snow cleared off the streets. They had no homeless there. People were super friendly in the subway. I was like asking, you know, some girls where to go, and they would sometimes go with me, get on the train, take me to where I'm going, hang out. Sometimes they would go all the way on the train, take me to where they're going, and then they would go back on their train. And yeah, people were just so friendly. Almost no one spoke English. That was very difficult. The language barrier. I used a lot of Yandex Translate and the few words that I know in Russian, which are not a lot. And I had a really good time despite it being cold. It was also winter that time. I don't know why. But anyway, I really want to take this car and bring it across Russia. I think it's going to be so cool. People in Russia haven't seen, I mean, they have, you know, Urus and something like that, but they haven't seen something like this where, you know, I'm off-roading and camping in the back. And to be American registered in Russia right now, I think that's totally different. It's going to be totally cool. And I really would love to get some cool photos in front of St. Basil's Cathedral right there in Red Square next to the Kremlin with this car. I think that's going to be so epic. And also Belarus is going to be epic. I don't know a whole lot about Belarus because they're kind of small, you know, geopolitically. People don't talk about it so much, so I think that's going to be really interesting. Some of the countries that people don't talk about the most, or that they talk about with the most negative context, are the countries that you have the best time in. And I know there's going to be people blowing up in the comment section below about this and that, and Western propaganda against Russia and their opinion and la 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 la. And none of these people have ever been to Russia or plan to go. So you know what? I don't know. You can't really listen to that. If someone's been to Russia and they've had an experience, okay, maybe we listen to that. But in my experience going to Russia, I had an absolutely amazing time, and that is why I'm more than happy to go back on my tour around the world with the Lambo, bringing it in to Russia. How am I getting my American car in Russia? Well, I have a visa for Belarus and Russia. However, my Belarusian visa expired, but on January 10th or 11th, the Russian Federation and Belarusian government made like a pact that if you have a Belarusian visa, you can get into Russia, and if you have a Russian visa, you can get into Belarus. So that is something that's very fresh, very new. I have a 2.5-year or 3-year Russian visa, multiple entry, 6-month stay, etc. So they were very friendly on that. So even though the Belarusian visa has expired, I'm going to be able to get into Belarus and then into Russia, hopefully by driving. So my plan is to drive either from Poland across, there's one checkpoint from Poland into Belarus, or go up to Lithuania and down through Lithuania to Minsk, and then to Moscow, and then Kazan, and then down to Almaty, Kazakhstan, and then Uzbekistan, and then Turkmenistan, and then Afghanistan. However, I have some scheduling problems with the car, and actually visa problems in Europe. Go figure. I have to go to Russia to escape Europe because, visa issues. So as an American, we can only do 90 days and 180 days in Europe, in the Schengen zone of all the countries. It's the 9th or 10th, I think, of February, and I have 12 days left to be in the Schengen zone. And I'm currently here in a field. Just on the other side is a mechanic shop where I'm going to be changing out the intercoolers and radiators on the car here to get them all like tightened up and a better angle of departure and approach when driving off-road. So that is what I'm working with. Last week I had the car 3D scanned to do skid plates and a new front bumper that's lightweight for off-roading and protecting the car, because I have literally no skid plates on the entire underside of the car right now. I don't even have the original plastic or carbon fiber skid plates. We ripped them off in Romania over the summer, and we're working on getting that replaced. I ran out of time in the Schengen zone. We slapped together this front bumper, which I'll show you guys right now, and I drove across into Serbia to escape the Schengen zone. So literally, this piece of metal right here is from a dude's scrap trash bin, and I drilled the holes in it and left on the same day getting out of the Schengen zone. So what we're gonna do with this intercooler, as soon as I finish this video, we're gonna go chop up my car. We're going to take this intercooler out, put a new intercooler in that's a bit of a different angle in here, we think, so that I'll have more clearance going to the tire. We've got to move all these lines up, there's like some second radiators on each side of the car. So essentially, if you see kind of this shape of the bumper, that's what it's going to look like, so that I can have some more clearance when I'm approaching things. Now, underneath the car, as you'll see, I'm gonna spin this, there's like nothing. You can just see it's exposed. Things are held on with zip ties. It's ghetto. I did this bumper with a dude in Romania quickly and fastly, and we didn't finish, and that's why it looks very primitive and ghetto. Essentially that's what we've got. Now, what I would like to do is work with the intercooler guys, figure that out, work with the bumper guy, figure that out, and the skid plate guy, and figure that out. I also have a battery problem because these cars came with this lithium-ion battery. It's like where's the door? There it is. A $5,000 lithium-ion battery that went bad, and the factory that builds the batteries for Lamborghini had some problems, so now they're supplying them with AGM batteries. However, when you switch from the lithium battery to the AGM battery, you have to change out not only the ground cable and the little microprocessor thing that's part of that battery, you have to change the wire that's going from the alternator to the fuse block that goes down to the battery, as well as reprogramming the car to let it know that you have a bigger size battery, because this battery is like 120-ish amp hours and the original one was like 60, so it's double the size. So what's happening right now is, now that I have that new Red Arc 40 amp charger that I put in the back with the Adventure Vans guys, it's draining the battery. on the car. Like literally in one day, the car dies. So when you're camping out, opening and closing the doors, boom, one day the car dies. So I really need to get that figured out and solved and fixed, changing that cable out and reprogramming it for the bigger battery. Now for those out there that are wondering, why do you need to change a cable out? It seems kind of crazy. Literally the cable was so thin. I've seen the cars side by side. In fact, if your car's under warranty and you have an Urus, Lamborghini is paying to the dealers to change that cable for you. So that's how they feel about it, that it needs to be done. And I've physically touched the cables side by side. It's definitely something that's significantly thicker, and given that I have an additional 40 amp charger in the back and I have the winch and all of these other things that are straining on the battery, I definitely want to upgrade that to be able to charge the main battery as fast as possible with the most amps coming out of that smart alternator. So that I need to do, and the Lamborghini dealership that has the special computer that can program it, there's only two in this part of the world. There's one in Warsaw, which I've heard many bad things about them, and I've even called them. They don't answer their phone. I reached out to them on Instagram. They finally responded there, and I was able to then get the email of the service advisor at the Lamborghini Warsaw dealership asking about ordering that battery cable. They wanted to basically charge me a ton of money on that cable, so I've sourced it from some other guys for not half the price, but a lot less, let's just say. So I'm a little bit worried about seeing Lamborghini in Warsaw. I would say driving around the world in a Lamborghini, most of the dealerships are really good. The dealership in Bucharest, Romania tried to scam me and overcharged for something that was like a fixed fee item. And then here this issue with the Warsaw Lamborghini dealership where they're just like, you can't even get a hold of them. I don't understand. And then there was the issue with the dealership in Budapest. So those three dealers, I have to go to this Warsaw dealer unless I drive all the way up to Latvia or back across to Germany. So hopefully it's going to be okay at Lamborghini of Warsaw. I'd love to post a video saying, hey, everything went okay there. But yeah, just that's my experience so far. Every other dealership around the world has been so friendly. Austria, Leipzig, Munich, Berlin. I mean, I've been all of them. Pangborn, where I camped and barbecued and literally showered. So most Lamborghini dealerships are so friendly, but these three that I just mentioned, I have had a bad experience with. I've been to like, I don't know, 30 different Lamborghini dealerships maybe, or maybe more, I don't know. And anyway, so that I've got to figure out, and I want to meet up with Sinclair and go across with him in convoy through Turkmenistan and Afghanistan. Now, in order to meet up with him, he's flying over, and he's also got his own car problems, modifications, etc. stuff. Oh, and I also might have an issue with some steering component, control arms or something. I don't know. I still got to figure that out as well. Now, he's flying over because he's got his Dodge, I can't remember if it's a Dodge Charger or Dodge Challenger. I always forget it. It's a Dodge muscle car that he camps in a hammock on the back. And we've been talking for the last number of months. We're never met each other in person, just through Instagram, and we're going to meet up, link up, and hopefully drive in convoy through Turkmenistan and Afghanistan. And if it goes well, then we'll go through some other countries together after that. However, he's flying in 2 weeks to go lift his Dodge and add like off-road tires and all that. So pending his stuff goes all well, we have a scheduled tour in Turkmenistan and Afghanistan starting like the first week of March. I think it's maybe we have to even meet up in Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan around like February 28th, March 2nd, something like that, to be able to make it happen. And it's now, what is it, the 10th, I think, of February. So we're talking 66 hours of driving across Belarus and Russia to get there. And that's not accounting for border crossings and stopping and checking out the people and the cultures in these two huge countries. So I've got a bit of a dilemma here that I need to decide. Do I meet up with him and try to rush and get all this work done, or like some of the work done but not all of it done, and then maybe ship the bumpers that are half built from here down to Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan and install them after touring around with Sinclair, but then I'm totally exposed skid plate wise and whatnot from the underside in Afghanistan and Russia and like all these, you know, places that for sure, like you could probably find some sort of shop with some solution to fix the car, but some of these countries have sanctions with the West, so it's hard to get parts, even though there's still some sort of ways to get parts. Or do I stay here and spend a month and a half getting the car done? However, I can't stay here, so I have to like drop the car off and then I have to fly somewhere or drive somewhere, I don't know, with a different car, rental car. I got to get out of here because I can't stay here with the car. I mean, whatever, the car can stay. I can't stay with the Schengen visa issue. So that's a whole nother, situation that I'm trying to weigh. So essentially the options are as it puts, and you guys can let me know in the comments down below what I should do. Option 1 would be go to these intercooler guys today, get this intercooler thing solved. Hopefully we can get it done in 2 weeks or less. Otherwise I have to throw the stock ones back on there, waste all the time, and drive out to Belarus. And maybe do the battery cable. Maybe I can get the intercoolers done in the battery cable and finish getting all the rock sliders, bumper and underside totally scanned and in production. That's option 1. And then drive across. I'll have the intercoolers a little bit better protected, but the underside will be completely exposed, like it has been though, for the last 4 or 5, 6 months or something like that. And just be careful, where I'm driving. The other option would be to tell Sinclair, hey man, I can't make it. And he goes on his journey, solo. Maybe we meet up at another time and I figure out a way to like fly down to Turkey or Tunisia or something like that, somewhere warmer ideally, and leave the car here, let the guys do, the intercooler work. Then hopefully they can transport it to the bumper guy who can do the bumper work. Maybe I come back at the end just to film the final part, going on, pick up the car, and then drive across Belarus and Russia. Or maybe at that time I just have more time so I can do Kaliningrad, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, and then down through Belarus and then Russia and beyond. So those are those 2 options, if you will. And I guess the third option would be just have the intercoolers and maybe the battery cable done, zoom into Belarus, then into Russia, down and meet up with Sinclair in Kazakhstan, and maybe afterwards, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, after that, then go back to Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan where I have some friends who could put me in touch maybe with a shop that could make the bumpers, and just have the Polish guys here do the whole design for the skid plates and the bumpers, since they've already 3D scanned it and they've got most of their measurements that they're working on now, and then just build it from scratch there, because I think shipping a heavy bumper and all that from here all the way to Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan is going to be insanely expensive. It's probably going to be cheaper just to have the whole thing recut and re-welded there. The only thing is this guy here is super skilled in what he's doing with building the bumpers. That's like literally all he does is bumpers and skid plates. So that's the dilemma I got to figure out. I've got a few days to figure it out while I'm working with the intercooler guys, because I think these guys are pretty pro specialists. So while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and do the intercoolers with them, and then we'll see, where it shakes out, how much time I have left or not to mess with the bumpers and the skid plates. As much as I'd love to do them, it's just a time constraint, and I might have to figure something else out, or if someone wants to drive them from Poland through Russia and drop them off to me down in Uzbekistan or something like that, let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, so that's ultimately the big dilemma here. And it's tough, right? It's tough because, in many regards, it's like, okay, I have this open-ended trip that I have okay, now it's starting to get really hot in here, that I have many years, to drive around the world. But at this rate, if I keep driving so kind of slow through all these countries, it could end up being a 10, 20-year trip to go, around the world. And at some point here in the next 6, 7 years, I do want to have a family and, some sort of farm of some sort. So I think that it's not the best to move slow. I need to speed up the pace to go to all of the places around the world. And in that mindset, it leads me to just say go. And maybe that's a mistake. Maybe I could end up in the middle of nowhere in Russia or Kazakhstan or Afghanistan or something like that and puncture, one of the lines, a fuel line or a brake line or something like that that's totally exposed underneath in the car, and have a problem to figure out. But you know what? I mean, it makes good video, I guess. It's drama. As stressful as it is when you're living in a car that's broken, that it makes good video. I hate that. because it's so frustrating when you're like in that moment with the car broken down. In fact, the next number of days I'm going to be in this shop with my car broken down. They have no heating hardly in the shop, so I'm going to be absolutely freezing. At least here in this field, I can turn the car on at night, you know, warm it up while I'm eating dinner. But they don't really have that at that shop, and there's no hotels nearby, there's no Airbnbs, and there's not even any restaurants. So this is about to be a very miserable week and a half that I'm here working on the intercoolers with these guys, camping in the car in the workshop. Now, I'm really leaning towards finishing the intercoolers, getting on the road, enjoying some time in Belarus, enjoying some time in Russia, and then meeting up with Sinclair and touring around. Because if I look at it from the 10,000 foot view, if I'm 80 years old looking back at this trip, am I worried? Am I thinking about like skid plates and bumpers? If I'm talking to grandkids about this trip, or am I talking about driving across Russia and meeting up with a friend and going through Turkmenistan and Afghanistan? Like, that's just so much more epic to me, even though I'm a little bit unprepared when it comes to the vehicle. They have tow trucks in these countries, you know? So that's what's pushing my mindset. And there's a chance that he gets to Kazakhstan and his car takes way longer to lift and do whatever work he's doing, in which case I could catch up with him and maybe get some work done on my car there. I know some guys in Kazakhstan who also do, you know, bumpers and lifts and all that kind of stuff. So that's, you know, potentially another option. But I don't know, I feel like I have some friends that are like poking me a little bit. You know, I hate to go into their mindset, but they're like, oh, you've just been like touring around Europe. What's so great about that? You've been touring Europe for a year and a half, you know, European sphere, etc. But driving across to Asia is so much more epic. It's like the real first epic thing of this trip that it really makes me want to push and to do that. So I'm leaning towards, let's get these intercoolers done. Let's get all the scans and everything and have that guy do all of the design for the skid plates and bumpers, since he's got a ton of experience in that. Go ahead while he's doing that, drive across, and then figure it out. You know, if I have time when I get to Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan, we'll do it there. Or afterwards, after we tour Turkmenistan, Afghanistan together with Sinclair, then I could come back and do the bumpers and skid plates there. So that's the dilemma that I'm dealing with. And I think that's the route as of right now that I'm going to take, depending on how it goes. I need to go. I'm supposed to be there an hour ago with these guys that are waiting on me. So we're going to go tear the car apart, and please wish me luck on this probably very cold and miserable week or two being in their workshop and then rushing to get through Russia. So yeah, and let me know in the comments down below if you think that's a horrible idea or if you have a better idea. Also, I'm open to that. Let me know. Thank you for watching, guys. Please make sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button. I know this is not the typical normal type of video that I do, just like a talking video here, sitting in the car. But yeah, I needed to kind of talk and get this out.